right, SHOT Show 2025. Have you been before? Are you going? Charles here with Buying Freedom Group with Ryan. We thought we'd talk a little bit about SHOT Show. I think it's going to be an interesting year in 25 for a few reasons, both from like a Vegas perspective as well as just an overall shooting sports firearm industry perspective. Ryan, how many years have you been to SHOT Show?
Too many is the first thing I'll say, but it's not just SHOT Show. I was in the automotive industry for many, many years, since the early 2000s. So I've been going to Vegas for shows since I think 2004 was the first year that I went for SEMA, which happens like what, a week and a half ago now, something like that. And so I'm very familiar with the nuances of doing a show in Vegas.
Yeah. And yeah, it's pretty wild seeing the perspective from an attendee versus an exhibitor. The logistics are mind blowing. So, if you're into that kind of thing, if you're thinking about going as an attendee, you'll be blown away if you've never been. For exhibitors, we work with a lot of small manufacturers and a lot of massive manufacturers that, almost have their own, whole bay booth at SHOT Show. What would you say? Is it worth a small manufacturer in the shooting sports space to get their foot in the door into SHOT Show?
Oh God! If you're even thinking about being in the shooting sports space, you should be at SHOT Show. Like if you've got the marketing budget to get yourself there, it doesn't matter what you make, what you're thinking about making, what you currently do. It's getting yourself all around the like-minded individuals within that space, right? Making all those different connections, building your Rolodex, having conversations to understand what people in a similar vertical are doing, how they're doing it, just gathering that industry knowledge. There's no other place on earth that gives you the ability over the course of 4 days to just absorb data. At least that's my take.
Yeah, and I think you see a lot of companies are like, oh, it's too expensive. And, maybe they're trying to track a specific ROI, and that's just not possible when you've got so many, thousands of people and thousands of connections, and someone might see your logo on your backpack that they took a picture of and find it like 6 months later and then, put in a big PO or something. Like that's what I love about SHOT Show is it's just like such a insane amount of variable and you never know what opportunity is going to come during the show or after. So all that to say, I think it's going to be a crazy year. Vegas visitation for tourism is like way down because you've got all these gambling apps and the economy is a little wonky right now. So we thought we'd go over a few tips with like, hey, it's a great time to go because you can probably get really good pricing. And what are some other little snippets, right? So what is your kind of hit list for like the top 5 things to do in Vegas in terms of like where to stay and like what to bring and how to do it?
Man, for SHOT Show, it's always, stay at the Venetian, right? That's the number one place. It's easy. All you have to do is literally get from your room to an elevator, go downstairs, and you're at the show. Are you going to pay more for that? Absolutely, you're going to pay more for that. Like that just is what it is. But when you take a step back and you look at going to dinner, there's a bunch of restaurants in or around the Venetian. So you're not having to Uber here and there and back and forth. You're always at the show. And if your goal, like for me, my goal is always networking. I'm not at the show really to show off a product. I'm not at the show to look at products. I'm at the show to network. I'm at the show to make different friends across different companies. And that was even before my position as COO of Buying Freedom Group, right? It's to me a big networking event. And if you can be at home, like as far as your room is concerned, if you can be at home and at the show at the exact same time, it gives you the creative freedom to pop down at 11 o'clock because somebody happened to text your phone that's having a beer at a bar on the floor of the casino floor of the Venetian. So I would say number one, be as close as you can be. I know not everybody can be at the Venetian, but be as close as you can be is, I would say, my number one hit list. But what's your number one?
Yeah, so I definitely agree. Staying at the Venetian, it gets you into the action faster. And if you're off strip, right, you're going to be paying for Ubers, you're going to be stuck in traffic, and time is money at the show. So at least, being in walking distance is, I think, worth it. I like to use hotels tonight. So if I'm going in a little early or leaving a little bit late, you can always find a pretty like high roller room for a crazy good deal. So that's kind of fun if you want to stay, at the Cosmopolitan for a night, to kind of mix it up. And yeah, aside from that, staying hydrated, and I'm a sucker for my iodine spray, nasal spray with fulvic acid, because if you haven't gotten the SHOT Show bug, I think that's the best way to keep that up.
Yeah, I like that. I don't. It's not just a shot show bug. It's every time I've ever gone to SEMA too, the entire team ends up sick after SEMA as well. Mine is the LMNTs, the hydration powders. I carry these with me everywhere, and then to your point, I try and wash my hands incessantly. Like if I see any hand sanitizer or anything like that, I try and use that. And I've noticed that that does keep the bug from being as bad as it has been in previous years. And maybe that's just because every year I go back, it's like my vaccination, so I get a little bit stronger every year, or it's because I have better hygiene practices. I don't really know. Um, I would say my number.
Oh yeah. So another thing, I think a lot of people miss a lot of opportunities with the seminars, with the classes, with even like the after hour events. So, SHOT Shows ran by the NSSF. Connect with them, right? That's what they're there for. They want you to engage with the show and be a part of it, whether you're an attendee or an exhibitor. And so, I think a lot of people feel like, oh, well, I'm not big enough to reach out to them or to go to an event. Do it, because that's where you get the best networking. You never know who you're going to sit next to at a seminar, and you're learning from the horse's mouth on like a wide variety of topics. So don't just walk around the show. Go to the events. Go to the after hour events. And it's a great way to stay connected. And then go multiple years, because it's those follow ups, right? You run into people. That's where it starts getting really fun. Um, you see the same people every year, make the same dinner plans on a Wednesday night or whatever. So much fun. And then, range day, that's the other, obviously must do event.
Yeah, the range days are actually a lot of fun. You do have to get there a little early to go to the range days. Usually they're kind of prior to the show. But to your point, the program, the whatever you want to call it, the magazine that they hand you when you walk in, right? You get your magazine in your big red SAR bag. Make sure that you go through that magazine, because there is a tremendous amount of really good classes and exhibitions and all sorts of different things. There's a schedule in there. Everybody just, I think, naturally, especially your first year, you're overwhelmed. There's thousands of booths, and all you want to do is go booth to booth and look at stuff. But there's so many industry specific classes and courses and events and just general talks, right? Go sit in some of those, participate in some of those, and really take advantage. That's definitely one of my top five as well, is just use SHOT Show and everything that it is. But in order to understand what it is, you need to dig a little deeper. It's not just a big conference floor to walk around and go ooh and ah and sit in the John Wick car. We've all done that. My first year at SHOT Show, I sat in the John Wick car. I wandered around all the booths. I did 19 miles a day. I had blisters on my feet by the end, so make sure you wear really good shoes. But I also drank at night and made my mornings really hard. And by the time I left the show, I felt like death. So the other thing for me is I try and stay out of evening. Um, I don't know, right? I'm trying to watch my language here as I say it, but I try and be careful to stay out of some of the evening debauchery, right? And instead, the tomfoolery. I like that's a good way to say it. Instead, what I like to do, and I've really become accustomed to now, is my evenings I try to go to a show. So I go to Blue Man Group, or I go to whatever shows there may be, so that I'm in bed at a decent time, because I'm up at 5 a.m. ready to hit the ground running again. And obviously, I have a sales role, so my job is to network and be on the floor and be talking to people and be active and make sure my brain's functioning so that I can have, intelligent conversation. Maybe that's not your role. Maybe your role is just to sit in the back and throw t-shirts out if you're a manufacturer. And if that's the case, by all means, then engage in the tomfoolery. But just know that Vegas has a tendency to pull you towards the dark side, and you have to fight it if you expect to get to the last day and still have your energy. So I'd say that's kind of my number three.
That's great. Yeah, and I'd add to that, there's some great amenities that people miss too, right? Go and hit the sauna, right? Go swim some laps in the morning, hit the gym in the morning, right? All these hotels have incredible amenities. Don't just be, downstairs at the craps table. Invest in yourself. And like you said, right, that's going to pay back dividends when you're bright eyed and bushy tailed, and everybody else is dragging.
Yeah, 100%. I think that kind of my four kind of rolls into that a little bit. My four is don't walk into SHOT Show with expectations. Whether you're a retailer that's looking to grab a few, different manufacturers to push products, whether you're a manufacturer looking for more retailers or just showing off your products, or if you're somebody like us, a company that interacts with the firearms industry and that interaction provides an ROI. No matter who you are, don't go into SHOT Show with expectations. Go into SHOT Show with open eyes and open ears and shaking hands, and really just consume as much of the information as you can, make as many of those really good relationships as you can, have a bunch of really good dinners, but never at the end of the day look back and go, I didn't achieve X, Y, or Z. Because SHOT Show is one of those places that you need to be adaptive and you need to be able to pivot on the drop of a dime. And if somebody says, hey, come to dinner, you need to take that opportunity to go, see where the universe is taking you, right? Where is Vegas taking you? And I think if you go in with this like hard model of like, this is what my plan is to do, you're going to miss out on a lot of potential opportunities that could really turn into something great.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I'd roll into that too. Make sure you hit up the basement and the upstairs. Especially if you're a buyer, for like a dealer, you can find some like real gym products, some up and coming products that, kind of get overlooked. And those are the guys too that have the time to talk with you a little bit more. And you might be able to catch something that's going to be trending early. So I always have a lot of fun down in like it's almost like the experimental zone down there. I like hanging out down there.
It is fun. Like you definitely do want to, walk around and pull the triggers and rack the shotguns and do all the things. And I think I think for me the last big kind of component of SHOT Show, right, is if you're there, at least from my perspective, if you're there to make those networkings and do all of that prior to going to SHOT Show, plan your NRA visit. So already have an idea of what you're going to be doing at NRA 2026 so that when you're at SHOT Show 2026, you can start having those conversations. And if you're dealing with a lot of the enterprise companies like we do, Charles, if you're dealing with the likes of Smith & Wesson and Springfield Armory and Glock and Winchester and Remington and names I'm saying that everybody knows, getting those people to commit to doing something when you're in front of them at SHOT Show, it's impossible because they're already committed. And so being able to have a conversation with them at their booth and then make a light plan to do something at that dinner you've already planned at NRA or that, whatever the event may be. But having that in your back pocket to say, hey, look, we know this sales cycle is going to take 6 months. Why don't we already plan to sit down in June at such and such show, those sorts of things. And remember too that, like you said earlier, this show's put on by NSSF. And NSSF puts on multiple shows throughout the year across the country. So just have that 2026 calendar already locked in your mind so that when you get to that very first show, 2026 shot, you're ready to really continue those conversations throughout the year at the various shows that these folks might be attending.
Yeah, well, I love that. Yeah, I think that's probably the best tip on here is, yeah, and that goes back to expectations. I think a lot of people think they're going to go to SHOT Show once a year and accomplish whatever it is that they're doing. But yeah, SHOT Show is not like hole 18; it's tee number one, and it's teeing you up for your success for the rest of the year. And like you said, things move slow, so it's that consistency. And just from the mindset standpoint, right? You can get discouraged if you're like, oh man, I'm on like day three already, and like I've just been like having general conversations. It's like, well, that's actually, yeah, that's maybe to be expected. So you got to plant the seeds at SHOT Show and water them, throughout the year. That's a great advice.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think last, don't buy new shoes right before SHOT Show, especially if you think that you're dressing fancy. Don't buy new dress shoes and then go to SHOT Show. If you do, you're gonna regret it. And just trust me on this one. You're gonna be walking a lot. Like the capability or the capacity to walk 10 miles a day at SHOT Show is pretty easy. Imagine from a footwear perspective that you're going to Disneyland. Like, figure out how to make tennis shoes look good with your outfit, but keep that in mind. And then the second one is, man, check the weather before you go. It is the desert in the winter. You might need the world's thickest parka, or you might need a tank top. So if it's your first year going and you've never experienced it, the key thing that I've learned over the years: footwear. Footwear. Hydrate and footwear. I think those are the key ones. Everything else has been business centric. But if I'm just talking about your own sanity at the end of the day, good footwear and hydration pack.
Awesome. Yeah, so we're excited. We'll be there. Come see us at the Buying Freedom Group booth. We'll be roaming around different range days. So be sure to stop by and say hi, especially if you are a manufacturer of any size. We'd love to chat with you and meet again at NRA.